Hey everybody, welcome back to the NC State Insider Podcast. I am your host and lead beat writer Tucker Sunnett, joining you here tonight to talk about NC State's 53 to 34 loss to the Pitt Panthers. NC State has fallen back to 500 on the season, a pretty shocking place for this team to be given how they looked after the first 3 weeks. So let's just run through my thoughts here on this loss and what it means for NC State moving forward. And I, it's I'm at as about the same point that Dave Doran is in terms of a loss for words after the game. He was pretty clearly really disappointed in the effort of his team. I just don't know what it is about this team that struggles to string each phase of the game together. It just feels like one group, whether it's the defense or the offense or the special teams, takes a step forward and the other two just fall apart. And it's really it's you feel for the coaching staff, you feel for the players on each side of the ball in those moments where, they're doing all they can to help one side and the other side just lets them down. And it's pretty unbelievable to see on a weekly basis something like this. And I think it's beyond the point where, they think they can fix it. I don't I think that's just who this team is. It's clearly it's beyond just an anomaly at this point. It's a full-blown trend. It's a full-blown characteristic with this squad, and I don't see it changing here down the stretch with 4 games to go now. The schedule's only going to get tougher, but I think Pitt exposed some serious problems for NC State's defense now. There's just such limited depth there that anytime Pitt went with tempo, with the multiple looks that NC State wants to throw out with their substitution patterns, they're just doomed if a team can move fast and get plays off because these guys are gassed or they're being forced now to rotate players in who are not equipped for ACC football. And that's the long and the short of it is the depth of this team is so decimated at this point in the season that NC State just simply cannot afford to be substituting so many players on. And they lost another key guy today in Ronnie Royal III, who he's had his struggles and he left this game. And it's unbelievable with these injuries. They just continue to happen and of course that's nobody's fault. That's just how football is. It's part of the game and all the players have said that. NC State came into this game without both of their starting guards and Spike Souls and Anthony Carter Jr. But it's a run of bad luck here for the Wolfpack, and it certainly continued today. You had Justin Jolie getting hurt during the game. I will say, as for the offensive play calling in the first half, it's pretty clear that they were trying to get Bailey comfortable throwing the ball, and he was at times, but once Jolie was out of the game, he just looked lost out there, and his effort at the end of the game. And I know it's a 30-point game or a 20 something point game, and Dave Dorn had his different view of it. He thought, if they get a touchdown at this pivotal moment and go for two, it's still a three-score game. And he's come back from big leads in the past, and that was kind of his point. But it, you could tell that this team felt like it was beaten by a certain point, and that was no more evident with anybody but Bailey. He had the throwaway on a fourth down, had the running out of bounds on a fourth down, and that's the second week in a row we've seen that. And I know after the Notre Dame game, he said, he's a gamer, he's going to take risks like that. And Doran even expressed his frustration after this game. He said, you can use your legs. You're allowed to run. There's nothing stopping you. And for whatever reason, Bailey just did not want to put himself at risk in those situations. And didn't didn't really give his team a much better chance to come back in this game. Still finished with 3 touchdowns, but it just was such a ugly second half from this offense, and they weren't really able to run the ball, which was a concern. So you knew that the pressure was going to be on Bailey to perform in this game, and he just didn't have it. I know the stats might say otherwise, but I think anybody who watched this game knows that whether it was a combination of the play calling not being what he wanted in this game and his own performance, or just him not being able to execute. And execution is such a cliche term by this team that they use time and time and time and time again. But this team just didn't do it in any way, shape, or form. I know they had their moments, but it's just you can't win a football game with 10 good plays. You need to win a football game with, 5 great plays and 20 good plays, and then string it together on defense. And they just can't do that for whatever reason. In terms of bright spots, obviously Jolie was fantastic before he got hurt with those 6 receptions for 101 yards. That double pass play was great for Teddy Hoffman's confidence. He also caught a touchdown late in the game, had some nice catches. Good to see him back in the flow of things. Pitt did a really good job taking away Terrell Anderson. Smothers was bottled up other than that 65-yard touchdown run. And Pitt just eviscerated this NC State defense. Doran was really upset with the soft coverage that the Wolfpack played. He said that was not really what they practiced during the week, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that was guys being tired or just guys that didn't really understand what they were going up against. But these speedy receivers for Pitt just had so much room to operate, and you gave a true freshman quarterback all the time in the world. There was no pressure at any point in this game. An absolute disaster from this defense in terms of that. After Syracuse sacked Heinzel 7 times last week, NC State didn't even sniff a sack in this game. It was just mistakes and inability to create pressure. And I know, they were there a couple of times and he got the ball off, but it's at a certain point you can't keep making the same excuses. You have to execute, and that's something that NC State just seemingly can't do. Um, and now they're 4-4, and this season is a 4-game season, and you have to go 500 if you want to play in a bowl game if you're NC State. Pitt, on the other hand, is kind of in the driver's seat of their ACC championship destiny. They just have to find ways to win games down the stretch here and look like a fantastic team. But NC State, I certainly don't see them beating Georgia Tech. That's another team that's really, really physical on the ground, and they'll make NC State pay if they are not able to wrap up and finish tackles, and with potentially, young freshmen or even walk-ons, or not walk-ons anymore, but guys you didn't expect to even come close to playing in 2025 might be getting reps next week on this defense, given all the injuries. And that's a major concern for this NC State team against one of the best teams in the country, a team that just throttled Syracuse today, and a team that has one of the best, most physical running quarterbacks in the country in Haynes King is coming into town. So I don't see anything getting better next week for NC State. I don't see anything getting better. Obviously, they have another bye, and then they go to Miami to face another one of the best teams in the country in the Hurricanes. And I don't see things getting better there. Um, so then you're 4-6 going into that pretty critical Friday night game against a Florida State team that might also be playing for its bowl eligibility lives. Um, and if you win that game, if you're NC State, you have to prove yourself against a Super Bowl champion coach that is, a wounded a wounded animal right now, and they obviously lost their game today to Virginia, but you've really backed yourselves into a corner here if you're Dave Doran and this NC State team in terms of bowl eligibility. I just it's looking pretty dire. And then if you don't make a bowl game, if you're Dave Doran, the noise that you heard over the last couple weeks is just going to get louder, and I think there's going to be some really tough conversations around this football program if they finish with five or fewer wins. I really don't think that they're not going to win a game the rest of the season. I just don't see that happening. And Dave Doran's pulled rabbits out of the hat before. You know, he's certainly capable of maybe pulling off an upset in one of these games. It's not out of the question. But just given the personnel that this NC State coaching staff has to work with right now, I don't see it in the cards. And it's certainly pretty shocking that it's reached this point in the season. And given how confident and how different this team looked in the first 3 weeks and that 3-game winning streak. It's pretty unbelievable. I know that's not the hard-hitting analysis you want, but that's what I got for you. And yeah, that's there's not much left to say. We're kind of at the point of the season where everything everything that's happened is what it is, and there's no I don't think there's any fixing the issues that this team has. That's what my opinion is. I'm not a football coach. It's not my job to fix the things. It's just my job to tell you what I think and my analysis of this team. And I don't think the future is very bright in the next 4 weeks. And I'll leave it with that. As always, thanks for tuning in to the NC State Insider Podcast. If you want more content, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Senate Tucker. You can also hit up the website's Twitter account at Wolfpack on SI for our game coverage and our basketball coverage, which is going to be in full swing over the next couple of weeks as the men's and women's seasons get going. And of course, if you want to watch more episodes of the thrilling NC State Insider Podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the Sports Videos on SI YouTube channel, and you can find more of these every day. Thanks for listening, and I guess we'll see you again tomorrow. Later.